Good morning. How's everybody? So I'm just going to make a couple statements, and then I'm going to just jump right into this and get through it. First of all, this is not a public document. This is a document that I obtained through a source. And so I know there's a need for transparency in this, and I've made it available to all eyes, and she's going to be posting it after this live because I want to make sure that I'm doing what I need to do to protect what I believe is the right thing to do with redacting phone numbers and the names of some children. And that's it. So I want to make sure everybody understands that. I did not obtain this from a public person, right? Okay, so I didn't obtain this from a court. This is from the Franks Memorandum. This is a 12-page report that Detective Murphy wrote. And yes, it should be public, but it's not. And that's why I'm approaching this the way that I am. And I know that people are frustrated, but suck it. I decided to go ahead and just blow through this whole thing again, because this way we might just go ahead and get the whole thing together. Okay, let me add this motherfucker to the screen and we shall be off. Oh, God, TV, you know what? Actually, hang on a second here. So this one is only 12 pages. I think there's another one that's like 85. I don't know. I don't have access to that. I'm working on it, but I can only do what I can do here. Let me just put the one that's easier to scroll through. So anyway, so yeah, I don't know if All Eyes is here yet, but like I said, I've sent it to her because that's what I'm going to do, because she's kind of keeping, to me, she's the keeper of all things. I'm trying to find the one that's easiest for me to read through. Okay. Okay, I'm sorry. Actually, I'm not sorry. I need to stop saying that. Okay, here we go. So just going to start. And again, like I said, the only things that I've redacted, and I know I've had some people that are concerned about that, are phone numbers and names of children. Now, again, whatever, it'll be up and available to everybody. But that's how this is going to roll. So here we go. I'm just going to blow through it. And I'm not going to look at chat right now. So Delphi supplemental report. Elvis A. Fields, January 2018, interview of Mary Jacobs by ISP troopers Murphy and Purdy. Jacobs states that on February 14th, 2017, she picked up Elvis at his trailer park and took him back to her house. The purpose of this was Elvis was going to work on Jacobs' vehicle engine. Jacobs says that Elvis was rambling, hyper, and borderline incoherent. Elvis was talking about having a brother and being part of a gang now. States he was on a bridge with two girls that were killed. Tells her Abigail was a pain in the ass and a troublemaker. She said that Elvis tried to give her a blue jacket and hat he had in his possession. She was unaware of any missing or murdered girls and refused to take the jacket, telling him she had her own jackets. February 18th, Trooper Holman and Murphy interview Elvis Fields at Rushville PD. Elvis denied being a part of any murders at Delphi. Elvis consents to DNA swab buccal taken by Murphy. Elvis ends his interview by stating he is tired and wants to go home. Murphy drops off Elvis at his residence at the trailer park. Elvis exits the car and starts walking towards the trailer. Elvis then turns around, comes back to Murphy's car. Elvis has asked Murphy that if his spit is found on one of the girls, but he could explain it, would he still be in trouble? Elvis Field's cell phone. Records show that Elvis Field's cell phone sits on a tower closest to his residence. It is not used or active from 10:30 a.m. to 7:30 p.m. approximates. The phone is used to call AutoZone in Rushville several times. Interview of Elvis Fields on June 20th, 2018 at Rush PD. Elvis interviewed by Ferenczi and Murphy. Elvis states that he was not in Delphi on 2/13/2017. Says he was in Rushville. Claims some of his unusual Facebook posts are, quote, just decorations he likes to make. Elvis tells interviewers that he is not in a, quote, gang. Gangs were never mentioned by interviewers. Elvis agrees to polygraph, and then a few days later, a lawyer contacts Murphy stating any more contact with Elvis must go through her. Ferenczi and Murphy interviews family members. Ex-girlfriend and mother of Elvis Fields states that Elvis was fascinated with railroad trestles. He tried to get her to cross one near their residence several times. Damn it. Okay. Daughter Tiffany stated that Elvis became enraged when he found out she was having a child with a Hispanic male. Daughter also stated that she was in Elvis's apartment once when he lived in Connorsville. He claimed there were demons in his closet. He ran outside with a knife, yelling on the streets he would kill any African Americans that he saw. Tiffany recalled that her mom was upset that Elvis had money to go to Lafayette, Indiana, but not money to pay child support. August 8, 2018, interview of Joyce Moffett, Elvis's sister. On October 2017, Elvis moves into the residence of his sister, Joyce Moffett, in Dunkirk, Indiana. Approximately 2 weeks after having moved, Elvis approaches Joyce out of the blue and tells her he was on the trail with a bridge with two girls that were killed and that he was going away for a long time. In regards to the above statement, Joyce first denied any knowledge of Elvis telling her the above. She then started repeating what she heard her sister tell us. Joyce then challenged us to make Elvis take a polygraph, quote, and then you will know, end quote. When we told her Elvis has so far declined to take polygraph, she began crying. She then yelled out and apologized to her deceased father and gave the above statement. August 2018. Jennifer Melton, per phone, Jennifer's ex-wife. Jennifer states she married to Elvis for 8 years. They had two children. I've already mentioned it, but anyway, two children, blank and blank. She stated Elvis was constantly abusive towards her and the kids. His abuse got worse towards her after the kids were born. She states Elvis chased one of the children out of the house with a shotgun when he was 19 years old. When blank was 16 years old, she had to pick her up. So Jennifer had to pick her up from Elvis's house because he was outside of her residence with a knife, yelling that he would kill any African Americans. She stated that blank suffered a spiral fracture. So this is a child of theirs, suffered a spiral fracture of her arm while under the care of Elvis and his parents. Jennifer said that Elvis was diagnosed with schizophrenia, but he rarely took his meds as prescribed. He would go nuts when not on meds. Tiffany recalled that one time she locked him out of the house after he battered her. Remembered, I'm going to say they remembered him yelling at her that he was going to kill her when he got back in. She believed he was in possession of a knife at the time of the incident. When asked if Elvis ever carried a weapon on him, she stated he carried a, quote, boot knife. Jennifer stated that she found it odd earlier in the relationship, and this is gross, so stand by, found it odd early in their relationship that his mother would go to the bathroom together. She claims Joyce told her years ago that Elvis and his mother would perform oral sex on him when he was a young child. She does not recall which city Elvis was going to regarding blank statement, daughter's statement. It was just that it was north of Indianapolis. She said Elvis owned guns, but they were all rifles and she never saw any handguns. She stated that Elvis was an accomplished fisherman and hunter. He would often spend long periods of time in the woods. She heard after their divorce, he would camp, live in the woods when he was homeless. Mary Jacobs records Elvis Fields August 31st, 2018. Prior to August 31st, 2018, Elvis and Mary had only spoken one other time since February 14th, 2017. This was in April 2017. On August 31st, 2018, Mary picked up Elvis walking down the road in Rushville. Mary had previously purchased an audio recorder several months earlier. She turned on the recorder when Elvis got in her vehicle. Elvis was unaware of the recording. They drive to Elvis's trailer and Mary goes inside. Joyce is present. 28 minutes into the conversation, Mary brings up their February 14th, 2017 conversation. She asks Elvis if she remembers giving her a blue jacket and giving it back, saying she did not want it. Elvis acknowledges this. Mary mentions to the police that police have been to her house to ask questions about Elvis and possible involvement in the Delphi murders. Elvis says she is tired of people accusing him of being involved in the Delphi murders. And he said, like I told them, what are you going to do? Dig up the ground where I took a piss and say, oh yeah, we got him. Note, Elvis never had this conversation or gave this statement in either of his interviews. Mary brings up the actual conversation. Elvis denies remembering that he said that and that he has to leave and departs from trailer. Elvis Fields has numerous Facebook pages. One of his current pages has a limit of 5,000 friends. Approximately 75% of these friends are young Filipino and Asian girls. Rod Abrams. Moving on. Rod was living with Elvis in in February 13, 2017. Elvis and Rod worked for Ned Smith Paving Business. He was convicted of assault with a deadly weapon in Osceola with a knife in Osceola County, Florida in January 1998. Abrams interviewed Murphy and Ferenczi August 29, 2018. Abrams was agitated that we were talking to him at first, but calmed down. He stated that Ned Smith, Elvis, and himself were in Muncie, Indiana, visiting a sick friend in the hospital on 2/13/2017. When asked if Elvis had his cell phone on him, Rod said yes. When asked if he had his cell phone on him while in Muncie, he said yes. When told that we would check cell phone records to see if they were at Muncie Hospital, Abrams stated that hospitals cut cell phone reception on phones because they interfere with hospital equipment, so their phones probably would not show they were at the hospital in Muncie. Robert Thomas, Elvis Fields' neighbor at the trailer park. Robert Thomas lived at 201 North Robinson Street in Delphi, Indiana. Thomas moved from Delphi back to Rushville on Thanksgiving 2015. He died of an overdose on 9/3/2016 in the Rushville trailer. According to friends and family interviewed, Robert let family and friends from Rushville at the Delphi house. It is unknown. It is unknown if Elvis ever stayed there. Photos of tattoos obtained from prior Elvis arrests in Rush County. Many show white supremacy type symbols. Brad Holder lives in Loganport, Indiana. His son, Logan Holder, was, quote, dating Abby. Holder served in the U.S. Army with Patrick Westfall. Both were deployed in Afghanistan. Practices Ossetru religion and is very devout to it. Formed an Ossetru, quote, tribe called the Tribe of Whatever's Path. Gungnir's path is Odin's magical spear with Patrick Westfall. Holder makes his own Viking-style knives and weapons. Takes pictures of sticks, trees, and natural formations in the wood. He believes is God Odin talking to him. Also arranges sticks into Ossetru-style symbols and runes. Many of these that are posted on Facebook page are very similar to the Delphi crime scene. Traveled to Delphi often to practice Ossetru with Westfall. He often brought Logan with him during one of these Ossetru meetings. Logan met Abby at Central Park in Delphi. According to Logan's statement, his meeting took place the second weekend of January 2017. Holder was a Vinlander. Holder was a Vinlander hang-around, okay, and not a formal member or probate. Facebook post dated on January 22nd, 2017 with Westfall and Delphi. Claims he was at work, got off between 2 and 4 p.m. He states he then went to Anytime Fitness says he got a text message from Logan, unknown time, on 2/13/2017, simply saying, quote, she's missing. Other known Facebook page names given: Steve Rogers. Elvis Field / Brad Holder. Elvis mimicking various and numerous Facebook posts that are on Holder's Facebook page. Logan Holder. Logan was 16 years old on February 13th, 2017. Claims he was Abby's boyfriend and that they spoke every day per social media messaging. Stated she was introduced to Abby per Liberty in December 2017. Again, I think that's probably 2016, but who knows? They once met at Canal Park the second week of January 2017. Patrick Westfall served in the U.S. Army with Holder, combat duty in Afghanistan, on disability for PTSD claims. Lives in Delphi, has a prior Flora, Indiana address, practices also true religion, claims to be a type of priest for it. Wait for the siren. Member of the tribe of the Gungnir Path with Holder. Appears with Holder approximately 10 times in photos with Holder prior to 2/13/2017. He appears in none after 2/13/2017. Stacey is often in the woods around the Monon High Bridge with kids. Has a video on Facebook page cutting down ash trees in the dark with a chainsaw. Note, one of the sticks on Abby was a clean straight saw type cut. States on 2/13/2017, he was home with his son all day. States they were going to join the search party on 2/14/2017, but the girls were found prior to them arriving. Vinlander probate on 2/13/2017. Other known Facebook names: Yeager Tierson, Patrick Donovan. Claims he is some type of Osseter priest, holy man. Johnny Messer. Johnny Messer, currently on home detention in Russville, Indiana, on methamphetamine-related charges, Fourth Amendment waiver. Vinlander probate with Westfall on 2/13/2017. He was a friend with both Holder and Westfall on 2/13/2017. Claims he does not speak with them now. Claims he was kicked out of the Vinlanders for fist fighting with Indiana leader Mickey McKinley. Knows Elvis Fields. State Elvis lived with his uncle and he would bring them firewood because the residence they lived in had no power. Elvis claimed he does not know Holder, Westfall, or Messer. Quote, they might know me, but I don't know them, end quote. Messer claims to have an SOS, stomp on sight order out on him from the Vinlanders due to the fight with McKinley. Denies being in Delphi on 12/13/2017 or driving Elvis to Delphi. Denies ever being in Delphi. States Holder would attend social functions and meetings at McKinley's house in Indianapolis. Says Holder defecated on McKinley's couch and went outside of McKinley's house with a gun and started yelling that he hated African Americans. Holder was brought back to the house and beat up by McKinley. Messer states he is not into Osseter religion. Messer has a mixed child with an African American woman. He claims the Vinlanders have no problem with this. Claims that Holder is a little weird and could be capable of harming someone, but Westfall would not be capable of the murders. Messer said the only active members of the Vinlanders in Indiana was McKinley, as well as Westfall and himself as probates. Un moment. Let me go on. All right. Taylor Hornaday, ex-girlfriend of Johnny Messer, together on 2/13/2017. Interview number 1 on October 25th, 2018. Assistant Chief Todd Click, RPD, Rushville Police Department. Taylor stated that Messer told her that the police had questioned him regarding the Delphi murders and that they would probably be calling her for an interview. She said Messer had an SOS, stomp on sight, on him by the Vinlanders. She was tired of him hanging out with them so much and not with her. She told McKinley about the mixed race child that Messer had fathered with an African-American woman. This is against Vinlander bylaws, and Messer's probate status with them is pulled. She says that Messer refused to turn over his Vinlander items, and that is why the SOS order was put out on him. She stated that Patrick Westfall eventually came to Rushville and gave him Messer's Vinlander items. Taylor had gone to Vinlander meetings with Messer, held at McKinley's house in Indianapolis. This is where she met Patrick Westfall and Brad Holder. She talked more with Westfall and liked his girlfriend, Rachel Miller. She did not talk much to Holder. She found him, quote, creepy, and he made her uncomfortable. During one of the meetings that Holder did not attend, the Vinlanders brought up they heard Holder was a possible suspect in a murder in Florida. They did not want Holder hanging around with them anymore due to the possibility they may bring, quote, heat down on them. She said during the meetings, the men would separate from the females and drink from a horn in ceremonies because men. Taylor said that Messer was introduced to the Vinlanders by Brian James. He said that Messer claimed to be part of the Hammerskins when he was younger. She said that Messer told her he had horrible things and should be in prison. He was never specific in details. She knows that Westfall is from Delphi and assumed that Holder was from the same area as Westfall, introduced Holder to the Vinlanders. She said both Westfall and Holder had brought their kids to the Vinlander meetings at one time or another. She witnessed the kids taking part in the ceremonies and drinking from the horn. Taylor confirmed that Messer confirmed that Messer saw the news report on the Delphi murders later in the week on TV. She confirmed she made statements that hoped Westfall were not involved. That she hoped Holder and Westfall were not involved. Messer also took a guy named Josh Stevenson to the meetings. There was a male by the name of Dougie that hung around the Vinlanders. She described Dougie as a low-functioning mentality and was, quote, not all there. They took advantage of Dougie to perform menial tasks for them. Dougie stopped coming around the Vinlanders after another group gave him a jacket and some patches. She stated that Westfall, Messer, McKinley went to Minnesota for a Vinlander event in March of 2017. She said that this was the final straw for her regarding Messer spending too much time with them. This is when she decided to tell McKinley about the mixed-race child Messer had. Taylor stated that Westfall and Messer were like brothers. She claims Messer was friends with Holder, but not to the extent she was with Westfall. She stated that they communicated using Facebook Messenger. She said that Westfall cut ties with Messer after he was kicked out of the Vinlanders. However, she did not know if they started talking again after her and Messer broke up. She states that the Vinlanders were into Odinism. She states that Holder and Westfall talked about making their own weapons in the form of knives and hammers. Toward the end of her interview, Taylor stated that remembered that her and Messer were fighting around Valentine's Day in 2017. This fight was due to the fact that Messer was, quote, up there with the Vinlanders around Valentine's Day. Now, he did not acknowledge the day or did not want to be around her on that day. She said she had a series of texts during this time where they argued. Taylor said that Messer had told her that he had shot someone in the hand on the east side of Indianapolis. She says Messer has never talked about Delphi murders to her since their breakup. Since their breakup, she does not know if he has reconnected with Westfall or Holder. She said that Messer had a fake Facebook page where he was posing as a Chinese, quote, Chinese guy. He has told her he has killed before, but she said he lies so much she doesn't know if any of this is true or not. Taylor is currently pending on counterfeiting charges as a result for the 2018 search warrant on which Messer was charged in the methamphetamine-related charges and currently on home detention on. On October 31st, 2018, a search warrant obtained out of the Division III Vigo County Superior Court for Taylor's phone that is in custody. That is in the custody of Rushville PD, seized in January 2018 search warrant. This is the same phone Taylor was referencing when she was fighting with Messer around Valentine's Day. The warrant was executed and the cell phone was downloaded at the THPD technician's office. I don't know what that is. THPD. Terre Haute. Okay. Terre Haute Police Department technician's office. The download only produced communications, data, text, Facebook Messenger, email from November 17th to January 18th. Right. Okay. So the download did produce 5 different phone numbers for Johnny Messer in the cell phone's contact list. 3 audio recordings have been pulled from the cell phone downloaded. These downloads were pulled from ambient listening program where Hardaway was listening and recording Messer's conversations and phone calls. In 2 of the calls, Messer is offering money to other people to find someone so they can be injured or killed. The other call is Messer bragging about holding a subject hostage and shooting them at his house. He later releases them and takes them home after taking their AK-47. I mean, it is believed that the victim's last name is Tillison, and they live in Shelbyville. Okay. On November 8, 2018, Messer reported to Community Corrections in Rush County for a scheduled appointment. Assistant Chief Todd Click went through Messer's cell phone per his 4th Amendment agreement. Okay. Got it. Because he's on home detention, they can search his shit. Click observed that Messer is still downloading photos and following various Vinlander members. He also observed the following text from Taylor to Messer. Note, the text was sent after both had been interviews. Quote, you have an SOS out and they only know my address. Quote, if they told us they've already questioned Brad and Patrick, what makes you think they didn't tell them they were going to question us? End quote. Messer replied the next morning, quote, LOL, get mad for no reason, end quote. On 11/20/2018, Taylor Hardaway was again interviewed by Ferenczi and Murphy at the Rushville PD. Taylor was asked, and I'm going to remind you, this is Murphy's report. So it's a supplemental report. And it's not called the Odin report. That's just what the title of it is. It's a supplemental report. Interviewed by Ferenczi and Murphy at the Rushville PD. Taylor was asked how she recalled arguing with Messer on Valentine's weekend 2017. She stated that in 2015, she had a miscarriage at 21 weeks. Her and Messer then had a child on June 2nd, 2016. In December 2016, she became pregnant again. While pregnant during Valentine's weekend 2017, she states they were moving from one residence to another. She was angry with Messer because he was with the Vinlanders during this time. She stated she had to pack up all of their stuff while pregnant and be responsible for their under 1-year-old son. She does not recall if Messer came home before or on or after February 14th, 2017. Taylor said to Messer that Messer was driving her 2001 Chevy Red Suburban. Interesting. Okay. She recalls being even more angry with him because she noticed something like blood on the side of the vehicle. She remembers needing to take the vehicle to a car wash and using the tire brush to get it off. She assumed that Messer had hit an animal. Her only recollection from the time period is 30 to 60 days after Valentine's Day 2017 when she noticed the substance. Taylor believed that Holder was a Vinlander probate with Westfall and Messer, but did not make it in. Taylor confirmed that Messer used fake Facebook pages, one of the names using, quote, Chun Li, end quote. She stated that Westfall uses Facebook name Jaeger Tyerson. She was unaware of any Facebook pages used by Holder. Taylor was not familiar with Elvis Fields. Taylor stated that Messer did not know Rod Abrams. She said that Messer and his mother currently live in a house where Abrams used to live, said Messer is his friend, and called Abrams, quote, Rochester, pronouncing it in a way that made of Abrams' speech. Whatever. Made fun of, maybe? I don't know. So, Fiend, I'm just going to say this. You can call it whatever you'd like, sir. Cat. My point in saying that is that it is the, quote, Odin report for all intents and purposes, as was entered into evidence with the Frank's memorandum. But the source document is titled by Detective Murphy as a supplemental Delphi report. That's it. You can call it whatever you want. Okay. Let's see. So moving on. Yeah, I mentioned that earlier. This is why I don't look at chat. I mentioned it earlier. There's an 85-page report out there. I'm fucking working on it. So whatever. And by the way, don't ever steal my tagline because I hate everybody the most. 10-4. Okay. So anyway, Assistant Chief RPD interviews Brittany Odom. Odom was a subordinate methamphetamine user under Messer prior to his January 8, 2018 arrest. Odom states that Messer talked about the Vinlanders often, and he was worried his affiliation with them would affect that. Messer talked about Vinlanders often and was worried with his affiliation with them would affect his sentencing. She said that Messer mentioned the city of Delphi several times, and she believed that someone that was into recording music with Messer was from there. She did not know the name of this person. She recalled that Messer mentioned that Messer stated the guy he was trying to record music with in Delphi had his name and picture in an article that was published on the internet. Messer's pic and name were also in the same article. The Anti-Defamation League published an article on their website about white supremacist groups. Messer's and Westfall's names and pictures are shown in the article. The ADL, Anti-Defamation League, is linked with the Southern Poverty Law Center site. She recalls specifically the name, quote, Delphi, because she had never heard of it before. Odom states that she heard that, quote, they were involved in 9 murders, but did not know specifics. Odom confirmed that Messer and Hardaway would argue and fight because Messer would spend so much time with, quote, those guys. Interview of Jessie Marie. Jessie declines to give her full name. She is fearful of reprisal. Jessie stated that her daughter dated Logan Holder prior to Logan dating Abby Williams. Jessie said that interacted with Logan while he was dating her daughter and after they broke up. Logan told her that his mother was murdered, then stated she died of cancer. Jessie later found out his mother was alive. Jessie communicated with Logan after the murders of Abby and Libby. Logan claimed that Abby was haunting her. I think he means him, and was seeing her in his house. He also stated that she was moving his shoes and their box around and messing with his TV. Logan claims his family was buccal swabbed. Logan stated that Abby was killed on their 2-month anniversary, and they only met in person once on Delphi. Logan states that he and Abby had no communications on February 12th or 13th. Jessie stated that Brad Holder and Patrick Westfall were in a, quote, Odin cult, end quote. She also stated that Holder and Westfall was in the Army unit with Travis Sandifer. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Oh God, did I steal it from you? All right, well, whatever. Everyone hates everyone, correct? Same. People in chat. Some damn crazy. Jessie stated that Brad Holder and Patrick Westfall were okay. Travis Sandifer. She stated that Travis is related to Marvin and Brett Sandifer. She stated Marvin is friends with Ron Logan and Brett is friends with the Patties. She stated that Brett has a son named Bryden, who is friends with Abby and Libby. Jessie stated that Travis is also into Asatru/Odinism. She also stated that Abby hung around and did odd jobs around the Pizza King in Flora, Indiana. She stated that Pizza King is located across the street from the house and burned down that killed 4 small children in November of 2016. She stated that Abby and Joe Sandifer owned Pizza King. An open source internet check shows that Marvin Sandifer commented on police searching Ron Logan's residence regarding the murders to a media outlet. An open source internet check shows that Abby Sandifer, Pizza King owner, talking to a media outlet regarding the Flora fire and Delphi murders. Jesse provided the Facebook Messenger exchanges between her and Logan Holder. A Facebook search of Bryden Sandifer's page shows a photo of Bryden making a Vinlander hand sign. Jesse stated that Marvin Sandifer lives just up the street from Ron Logan. Does this mean anything to anybody? I mean, I don't know. Okay. Interview of Brittany Odom. Odom was a subordinate methamphetamine dealer to Johnny Messer on his. Wait, what? Is this cut and paste? Hold on a second. Odom was Jesse. Oh, okay. So it's another interview. Interview with Brittany Odom. Odom was a subordinate methamphetamine dealer under Johnny Messer prior to his arrest in January 2018. He also is pending on current methamphetamine charges. Odom is a resident of Rushville, Indiana. Odom recalls Messer always talking about his association with the Vinlander Social Club. She has heard of him referring to the town of Delphi in the past. She recalls remembering it because she had never heard of Delphi, Indiana before. She thinks Messer would refer to making music with a guy from Delphi, Indiana. He told her that he, Messer, and the guy from Delphi both had their names and pictures mentioned in an article about racist groups. We know this is true. It's on the a couple different websites. The Anti-Defamation League did publish an article about the American Guard, post-Vinlander group, American Guard. Y'all, this is bad. That has both Messer and Westfall's name and photos. And to be clear, I actually, well, whatever, I'm not going to get into it. She would also confirm that Messer would appear with his friends for long periods of time, which led to fights between him and Taylor Hardaway. Interview of Jessie Marie. Jessie stated that her daughter dated Logan Holder. There feels like some of this is repetitive, but I'm just going to read it. Jessie stated her daughter dated Logan Holder prior to dating Abby Williams. She stated that up until January 2018, they kept in touch. Oh, with Logan. Weird. Okay. Jessie Marie. It's hard to put this together, but y'all read it when All Eyes puts it up. She stated that up until January 2018, they kept in touch. Jessie provided a series of Facebook message exchanges between Logan and herself after the murders. In them, Logan claims to be haunted by Libby's ghost, claims that he was out until 2 to 3 a.m. looking for Abby after she was reported missing. Logan states he had been dating Abby for only 2 months and that February 14, 2017 was their second month, quote, anniversary. He stated they had met in person only one time. Jessie stated that Brad Holder was involved with, quote, some type of Odin cult, end quote. She stated that Brad Holder and Patrick Westfall was in the army with a guy named Travis Sandifer. She stated that Travis was also into Odinism and also true. She said that Travis is related to Brett and Marvin Sandifer and that Martin lives, quote, down the road from Ron Logan and they are friends. She also stated that Brett Sandifer has a son named Bryden Sandifer and that Bryden was friends with both Abby and Libby. Jessie went on to say that Abby worked small jobs and did chores at the Flora Pizza King. She stated that Pizza King was across the street from a house that burned down, killing 4 children. She stated that Abby and Libby and Joe she stated that Abby and Joe Sandifer owned the Flora Pizza King. She did not know if they were related to the previously mentioned Sandifers. An open source internet check shows that Marvin Sandifer gave an interview to a media outlet while police were searching Ron Logan's residence. The open source internet check also shows that Abby Sandifer gave an interview to the owner of Pizza King in regard to the Flora fire and Delphi murders. Okay. Now we're going to get into some cell phone stuff that I redacted because I don't know who the hell these phone numbers belong to. But again, I've given this over to All Eyes and she can release it at some point. I'm not doing that. Interview of Brandon Mansfield. Mansfield. Boop, boop. Let's see. Yeah. Correct. Iowa. Reagan. Okay. Interview of Brandon Mansfield. Mansfield was interviewed by Click after an arrest for possession of marijuana. Mansfield stated that in the summer of 2016, he lived in the same apartment complex as Messer. He said that Messer was attempting to talk him into attending Vinlander meetings. He stated that he believes he met Patrick Westfall one time at the apartment complex. Westfall was in the company of Messer at the time. Taylor Hardaway finds phone 1/28/2019. Taylor Hardaway called us yesterday stating she was cleaning her house and found a phone that she picked up and wanted to turn in. Rushville PD assistant Todd Click went over to Taylor's house, picked up the phone. Click opened the phone and noted the phone number is blank. It's a 317 number. And I honestly don't know if there's harm in posting these at all, but I'm just going to be cautious at the moment. Because like I said, this is not publicly released yet. I got it from a source. So, you know. He also found 3 Google Voice numbers being used on the phone. One from Delphi, one from Rowan, one from Covington. The first number shows being activated with the Delphi prefix out of bandwidth.com, CLEC, C-L-E-C, LLC, Indiana, which is most commonly Google Voice. The blank Rowan number and the blank Covington number are also activated through bandwidth.com. Bandwidth.com, CLEC, LLC, Indiana. Taylor believes Messer was able to hide the phone when RPD was executing a search warrant on their house back in January 2018. The phone had been in Taylor's house since that time, and Messer has not lived there since the search warrant a year ago. On 2/14/2017, Westfall makes contact with a number which is activated using bandwidth.com, CLEC LLC, Indiana. This number is registered out of Newcastle, Indiana. Johnny Messer used to live in Newcastle, and according to Taylor, still friends and family there. Newcastle is 24 miles north of Rushville. Thoughts? Anyone? I don't know. Hmm. Okay. One moment. BRB. So, sorry. Okay. Checking on my cat. She was not feeling well this morning. Okay. Newcastle is 24 miles north of Rushville. Newcastle is, let's see. Newcastle is 24 miles north of Rushville. Okay. Goes on. Page 8. Notes from an interview of Amber Holder, separated from Brad Holder, and interview notes from 3/1/19. Okay. Amber was introduced to Brad Holder by a guy she met online who she knows only as, quote, Will. Will gave her, quote, the creeps and was uncomfortable around him. Will tried to get her to support some type of white supremacy group, unknown name of group. Will was living with Brad Holder at the time, and they met, and she moved in with Brad. She kicked Will out of the house. She met Brad at the end of February 2017 after the murders, and they were married on March 22nd, 2017. Brad filed for divorce last month. However, she filled out the paperwork. Amber stated that Brad is generally an outgoing person with a high ego of himself. She states he's an alcoholic and drinks a fifth of whiskey or rum a night. She said that Brad would drink anything he could get his hands on. He was working at a landfill operating heavy machinery in Buffalo, Indiana. She believes that he recently got fired for not showing up to work. He would usually leave for work around 4 a.m. and get off the clock at 2 p.m. later if overtime was required. Amber states she is a practicing pagan, also true Odinist. She was practicing paganism long before she met Brad. Amber stated that Brad refused to speak to Patrick Westfall when she had never met Patrick. She stated that Brad spoke of Patrick one time and that he was intoxicated and said that he and Patrick got into a fight. They no longer spoke to each other. He told her that he and Westfall were in the woods near a river conducting a ritual. Some of them said or did something the other did not agree with, and they no longer talked to each other. She said the river was near Patrick's house. Note, Brad has a Facebook post with him and Patrick together in Delphi on January 21st, 2017. Amber met Brad in late February 2017, and Brad and Patrick were not speaking at this point. Amber stated that Patrick used smoke as part of his also true Odinism/paganism religious rituals. She said that Brad would use a cigarette to produce the smoke, incense or sage, if it was available to him during his rituals. Brad would also cut his hand between his thumb and index finger and knuckles during his rituals. He would let the cut bleed and try to find Asatru rune formations in the blood as he bled. He always was trying to get her to cut herself the same way during the rituals performed together. She refused every time except one time when she allowed him to cut her hand. She has a scar from this cut. She stated that she and Brad often went to the woods to pray to Odin and other Asatru gods. Amber said that Brad keeps his guns at his father's house. She described them as hunting rifles, shotguns, and handguns. She never saw any guns in the house while she was living there. She stated that they did have numerous knives in the house. She said they took most of the knives with her when she left Brad and the house. Amber showed me a knife, and she was taking it from a cigar box. They then motioned for me to look behind me and gestured toward a bucket sitting on a shelf containing numerous knives ranging from a small machete to a Bowie-style knife to smaller knives. But they are there if unified commands. Jesus Christ. She then motioned. I mean, do you guys understand? Oh my God. But this whole part. There was a bucket sitting on a shelf containing numerous knives ranging from a small machete to a Bowie-style knife to smaller knives. But they are there if unified command feels they may be relevant. Am, am I understanding this correctly? And I may not be, because again, I've been very clear that I don't understand things sometimes. It's just the way my brain works. I have a certain set of skills. But did you seriously, am I reading this correctly? That it was, let me see. During the second Amber Holder interview, sorry, bracket just going to pray to Odin. Sorry. So again, these are Detective Murphy's notes, and this particular part is striking to me because it says notes from interview of Amber Holder separated from Brad Holder, and this is on pause. And this is on the bottom of page 8. There's a heading here that is titled Notes from Interview of Amber Holder from March 1st, 2019. The part that I'm noticing is that it looks like this interview in 2019 took place at her home, because Amber stated that she was let's see. Sorry. So this is, I guess this is kind of the part I'm struggling with understanding. They did have, so it seems like, if I'm reading this correctly, that there is a bucket sitting on a shelf containing numerous knives, ranging from a small machete to a Bowie knife style and smaller knives, but they are there if unified command feels they are relevant. So my read on that is that unified command was like, meh. Is that what I'm getting? But that's why I'm Slutherson again. This is what I'm trying. So thank you. It's hard to read this. Yeah, well, I mean, true. But so that I just was trying to figure out if I was reading that correctly. So there was a bucket of knives. Fine. Okay. Another thing I want to point out here too is that this was sent to me and it's jacked up. So meaning that it looks like it was copied. So it's all fucked up. So I can't really do a lot to straighten it. I don't know. But whatever, it is what it is. Okay, so moving on. After the bucket of knives, they are there if unified command feels like they may be relevant. Amber said that Brad also constructed his own knives from scratch in a style used by ancient Nordic and Viking tribes. She did not take any of these with her when she left. Amber stated that Logan Holder really did like Abby Williams and was in the midst of grieving process when she moved in with Brad. She stated that Logan's maternal mother was not Okay. Logan's maternal mother was not sympathetic to Logan and told him to, quote, get over it. She stated that Brad attempted to comfort Logan at times, but his personality made him ineffective at it. She stated that her 7-year-old son, Riker, was kicked out of school for being physically abusive to other kids. She stated that Logan and his younger brother, Lane, would watch her and Brad pray and conduct ceremonies, and they're also true gods, but rarely participated. Logan would ask to participate only because they consumed alcohol as part of the ceremonies, but she would not allow him. Amber stated one night at the dinner table, Logan was upset and in a, quote, mood over the murder of Abby Williams. This was the only time Brad brought up the murders around her, and he stated that he had been trying to figure out who killed the girls, but was unable to do so. He then stated that the police in Logansport needed to do something about the human trafficking around the city. She stated that Brad often spoke about human trafficking. Amber said that Logan told her that Anna Williams was aware of him, quote, dating Abby. She stated that Logan and Abby were not sexually active and that Logan was caught losing his virginity to a girl in his grandfather's church after the murders. She stated that Logan was having sex in a church made Brad very angry. Who among us? She stated that since the murders, Logan has steadily deteriorated mentally and emotionally as time passed. He almost dropped out of school and has been getting more angry. He signed up to join the Marines, but has not left for basic training yet. Amber is unaware of any white supremacy groups that Brad may have been associated with. She stated that while they were together, Brad rarely hung out with anyone. She thinks Brad may have been hiding secrets from her and thinks he may have been visiting his first ex-wife while she was still with him. She said that Brad and Logan both admit to speaking with the police after the murders of Abby and Libby. Second Amber Holder interview. She said that she went to Brad Holder's house today. She took her son Riker to see Brad and Logan. While Riker was upstairs with Logan, she said she made up a story to Brad, stating that her friend had a date with Patrick Westfall and wanted to know more about him. She stated Brad became very nervous and told her that she needed to stay away from Westfall or she would, quote, end up dead, end quote. She said that Brad told her that Westfall and his crew was responsible for the murders of the, quote, girls in Delphi and a fire that killed 2 girls. I asked her if she knew of the fires in Florida that killed 4 girls, and she said she was not familiar with any fires that killed children until Brad mentioned it today. She said Brad may have been talking about that fire, but had the number of killed wrong. She said Brad told her that Westfall and quote, his crew had friends in several states and they had no problems killing, quote, race traitors, end quote. I asked her to clarify, quote, race traitors, end quote, and he spelled it wrong. It's traitors. And she said she believed it meant white people who, quote, mix with other races. Amber said that Brad told her that Westfall and his, quote, his people killed Abigail Williams and Liberty German because one of their mothers was, quote, mixing with other people outside the mother's race. I asked Amber to clarify, quote, mixing, and she stated it to mean having sex or dating someone, quote, not white, end quote. Brad did not elaborate on how he knew this information, and she said she did not want to, quote, push it and ask any more about it. Amber said that Brad told her Westfall belonged to a group called the Vinlanders and, quote, 22. Brad told her that Westfall had many people backing him up and powerful friends. She stated that Brad was very nervous while telling her these things and whispering like he was fearful someone else would hear him. Logan and Riker were upstairs. She said that Brad also fidgety when discussing Westfall. Amber said throughout the conversation, Brad was constantly telling her to stay away from Westfall. He also remembers that Patrick had killed a lot of people and it didn't matter if they were, quote, innocent or not, end quote. Amber truly believes Brad is scared of Westfall. Prior to Amber leaving, she said that Brad told her to stay off Westfall's radar and, quote, I can only protect you so much if you keep asking questions, end quote. He also told her that if Westfall found out she was married to him, that she would be in danger. Brad also questioned her on why Westfall would be going on a quote date, that he was under the impression Westfall was married or engaged to someone. Note, I noted to Amber in her original statement, she said Brad told her that he and Westfall got into a fight over one of them saying or doing something wrong while conducting an ossuary ritual together in the woods near a river. She stated that Brad may have told her that to avoid telling her the real reason why she and Westfall are no longer friends. And this is at the end of the document. So Murphy notes this as general points of interest, which I take to mean key takeaways, right? Westfall appears 10 times in pictures that Holder posts on Facebook prior to February 13, 2017. After February 13, 2017, Westfall does not appear in any of Holder's posted photos. Elvis Field knows Messer, who was a Vinlander probate and/or friends with Holder and Westfall. Messer currently lives in a house that Rod Abrams once lived in. Fields and Abrams were roommates in February of 2017. According to family and friends, Elvis Field is overtly racist. Westfall, Holder, and Messer were involved with the Vinlanders in February of 2017. Abrams has prior arrest in Florida for assault with a deadly weapon, a knife. Note, all records with Osceola County regarding this case have been destroyed due to the lapse in time of the crime, January 1998. Abram lies about where Fields, Ned Smith, and himself were on February 13, 2017. Says they were in Muncie, Indiana, visiting a friend in the hospital. Fields' cell phone stationary and not used at his residence from 10:30 a.m. to 7:30 p.m. Ned Smith's cell phone around towers in Rushville. Westfall posts video of himself cutting down ash trees in a forest near a creek. Holder's son Logan, quote, dating Abigail Williams. Logan introduced Abby to Libby in December 2016. Logan meets Abby in person face-to-face in January 2017 in Delphi. Abby and Libby killed in February 2017. Holder posts stick symbols on Facebook very similar to crime scene. Elvis mimics various random posts that Holder puts on a Facebook page. Messer constantly using different phones. Drug dealing evidence provides him with knowledge of countermeasures used by law enforcement for cell phone evidence gathering. Organized white supremacy groups' involvement in past military combat experience may give Holder and Westfall possible cell phone countermeasure experience. Holder and Westfall make their own homemade Viking-style knives. Photos of Holder's Facebook posts available. These include stick configurations, various ossuary symbols, including his own paintings that are similar to crime scene. Comparison photos of Elvis Fields mimicking Brad Holder in Facebook posts. Photos containing Holder, Westfall, and Messer with Vinlanders. Note, it was assumed that Libby was the focus of the motive for the murders. However, there is the Elvis Fields statement to Mary Jacobs that Abby was a, quote, troublemaker and a, quote, pain in the ass. It was also assumed that this statement meant that Abby was uncooperative from abduction point to murder site. However, the statement could indicate there was some type of precursor event or situation involving Abby and above mentioned subject that the, quote, troublemaker and the pain in the ass statement was referencing. Note, this is a continuous document that is updated as the investigation continues. Okay. All right. So that's it. So yeah. Anyway, that's it. That's it. And so, like I said, I'm trying to get, hold on. Yes. So that's it. I'm working on getting more. So, and I've given this, like I said, to All Eyes because she's She runs the Ministry of Public Information, from all I can tell. I mean, certainly everybody, all the cranks have done amazing work on that front. I just happened to send it to her because that's just what I did. So we'll get that sorted. But like I said, it was a scanned document. I'm working on getting the additional reports. And there's probably no harm in releasing those phone numbers. But, because I didn't get it from a public, I mean, I don't know. I'll let All Eyes, leave it to her discretion. So one other thing, I am going to, look, I aim to please. And I do think that, I was not very clear yesterday about where this came from. It should be a public exhibit, but it's not at the moment. And I am going to, this is the hard part, right? Because I think that people, and this is just my opinion on kind of the observations, because of everything in this case being such a fucking shit show. There's this rampant desire for transparency, right? But I'm hoping people can separate out what I do as a journalist and what my practice is when I'm utilizing a source. It's taken me a very long time to develop the source. Very long time. So, I'm not going to flamethrow them by doing something that jeopardizes my relationship because I want more information. But hopefully all of this shit will be public soon. And this will go up. So the other thing is that tomorrow night I'm talking to Andrew Baldwin. And I've got some ideas about how I want to conduct that interview. And, as usual, y'all are welcome to be there or not. But I was thinking it might be people have been talking about or trying to address how to introduce, say, the new interest from the Free Karen Reed people into what's going on in Delphi. And so for me, I've been very open and very honest and clear that I believe Richard Allen did not get a fair trial. Okay. So my idea is that I want to talk to Mr. Baldwin about some of and I've reached out to Andrea Burkhart because I know she had started talking about some of the similarities she saw with, the judges blocking defense moves, and, personalities aside, right? So how I personally feel about how something was done in the courtroom aside, the stuff that I'm talking about are the same things that, that I see in the Karen Reed trial to a degree. You have a person confessing, right? I hit him, I hit him, I hit him. I hit him, I hit him, I hit him. You have unidentified glass at a scene where a police officer is dead. That doesn't belong or match anything. You have this magical mystery shit show up, right? You have mere presence. Karen Reed was there. We don't know what time Officer O'Keefe died. We don't know what time Abby and Libby fucking died. Bev had grave concerns about the defense team being, candor to the tribunal. Goal. Had all the things for the defense team. would not allow third party, would not allow really to even attack in what seems to be an effective way the absolute shit of an investigation and the shitty people involved in the investigation and the corruption in Carroll County. So they couldn't get into all that. So same thing with Karen Reed. So my approach is going to be trying to talk about at a high level first how these things are very similar, because I'm trying to help people see beyond the victims. And I know that's going to fall flat for some people and they're going to hate that. But in order to understand from my perspective what the fatal flaw is here in the due process and the corruption that is endemic in both of these cases, going to have to try to not to look at the defendants and to look at how they were treated versus, you know, the victims in these crimes. And so spend a little time talking about that, maybe bring some people along for that. And obviously we're going to talk about all of this and why he hasn't released stuff that he can release, because I've been working on that too. I'm going to ask him, and he pretty much has verified that this is an actual accurate copy of Murphy's report. I'm going to, and so that's it. And so you know, I don't do pre-interviews with people. I don't send questions. I give general broad strokes of what I'm going to be asking or talking about a little bit. And in this case, I'm going to, you know, the only stuff I'm going to talk to him about beforehand is just sort of how we're going to, I wanted to play a couple things from the Karen Reed trial for him, just to see the way that I'm looking at this, because I do believe that there's a lot of crossover there. Well, I mean, and the thing is that, you know, whatever, you're going to either, I don't really, I can be very dispassionate, and sometimes that is off-putting to people, but I think that that is also objectivity when it comes to certain things. I don't have a strong feeling. Well, I don't know. I mean, there's so much in this last report that I just don't know. And the cranks are the ones that know. So now the information's there. And so something can be done with it. And I think Teresa and her live last night, I didn't get to listen to it all this morning, was really helpful. I think that the more the transcripts come out, hopefully people are going to really, really start to wrap their heads around how misrepresented this was in the media, and how shitty the reporting was in this case, and how terrible the police work was the police work, whatever it is. And the gaslighting, the fucking gaslighting of Carroll County and the ISP. I'm also going to, well, I'm not going to say, but I'm going to ask questions about just all of the things. And he told me he would be willing to talk some about, did he tell me that? Something about golf. Anyway, so I'm going to put all of this together in in the description for tomorrow night's live. Again, be there, don't, you know me, I don't care. Is there anything that I can do you for? Oh, so yeah, we're going to talk a little bit. I've asked him to look into the situation, or I texted him. I didn't ask him. about Oklahoma, and some of the issues with not having a PCR investigation open and the doors flung wide. And I'm going to, again, push him to release the shit that he needs to release. Because he does, in my opinion. And I think, yeah. So what else? Anything? Anything? Anyone? I'm just looking. Anyone? Anyone? Sorry, I'm very tired. Nope. Okay. So I guess I'll see some of you mother scratchers tomorrow night or not, because you know what? I just don't get. Yeah. Okay. So sorry. Once again, yes, All Eyes is going to put it up. Okay. All right. All right. So, as always, and I guess we'll throw it in Twitter, some bullshit. So anyway, yeah, I hate you motherfuckers.